This is Bob with Bob's Leatherworks in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I've got something new to show you, new and improved, if you want to call it that. And I'm going to go slow, maybe slower than I usually do, because there's a lot of detail in this rig that I want to tell you about, and also some other considerations. This is a double rig, obviously 2 holsters, and it is a replica rig for the Johnny Ringo Tombstone movie rig that was requested by a gentleman, and it is a double. Of course, the one in the movie was a single. Now, there are some similarities and some differences about how I made this rig. And one of the significant differences is that the movie rig, there's my finger, the movie rig was a single thickness leather rig, not double thickness or lined like this one is. And it's a lot bigger too, because the gentleman's gun belt size is 49 and Bean is nowhere near a 49. So there's more leather, more bullet loops, and it's also lined with suede. And I don't believe the movie rig was lined with suede either. Now at this point I want to give some credit, or actually a lot of credit, to another gun belt maker named Will Gormley, G-H-O-R, I wrote it big so you can see it, Will, G-H-O-R-M-L-E-Y. He's got a website, willgormley-maker.com. I don't know if I can, no, I can't get it big enough for you to read that. But it's Will, G-H-O-R-M-L-E-Y-maker.com. This page and this page, okay, are off his website. So if you go to his website, you'll find it. And this is the replica rig that he makes based upon what he saw, you know, in this shot right here, and maybe from some other source, because I've only got these 2 pages from his website. And I copied his replica to make this one. And there are some differences, again, from his replica and mine. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to give him credit for him being my guide to make this rig. And here is one of the most important things I learned from this photograph. Okay, the gentleman who ordered this rig has 4 5/8 barreled guns. They happen to be bird's heads, but that's irrelevant for this this topic or this issue. And so I was trying to make holsters that would look like this for 4 5/8 guns, here again, and then it suddenly dawned on me when it wasn't working out that this is either a 5.5 or a 7.5 inch holster. Coming right from here, okay, right from where the cylinder ends, and coming down toward the end of the barrel, okay, I could quickly see that once it dawned on me. So I called my client and explained this to him, and I decided to make the holsters for 7.5s in case he ever gets them. So the 5.5 inch guns will fit in these holsters. I'm going to take this away now, okay, and put it to the side. And as you may may have noticed, I made a lot of procedure notes on this about how to build this rig, or make this rig. Build is a strange term, but I've heard it before. So here is my 4 5/8, okay, Uberti Peacemaker clone, okay, and there it is in that holster right there. So it's taking up the space, it's hitting just right. Let me get it up in here so I can show it to you. There it is. There's the trigger guard setting in there. And all of this is very dark, and I hope it's on my monitor, because this is an older TV. Hopefully it's brighter on yours. And there you can see the trigger guard sitting up in the holster cut, okay, and all of the stamping that I did. And the conchos on the holsters, the spots on the two straps, okay. And let me open it up again. I'll be back in half a second because this is a very big rig, okay. There are the spots running underneath the bullet loops. Okay? And I didn't put the bullets in it like I ought to have before I made the video, but regardless, I think you can see them. There they are. There are 30 bullet loops on this particular rig. Now, I'm not one to make rigs single thickness and then having to seal up the flesh sides and so on. I like to make things a lot thicker, a lot tougher than single rigs. Single thickness rigs, when they're used a lot, aren't going to last very long. They're going to get soft and some of you may like that. They're less expensive to make. From a materials point of view, you're not lining anything. But this one is suede lined, okay? And if I can stop saying okay, I will be very happy. And I put in my slide ledges that I use on Cowboy Festra action rigs and regular rigs when it's over the belt. So there are slide ledges inside these holsters that will keep it riding on the belt. They're a little harder to see because of the style of the holster, but I don't know if there's enough light, but take my word for it, they're in there. I also had to, and here we get into some of the details. Let me take this gun out of the holster. And I know I've been off the frame, but I hope you're listening to me. All right. Okay. I had to put the spots up higher along the bottom edge to make sure that they would pass over the top of the slide ledge. On the replica rig, they're lower, closer to the edge, and on a single thickness rig, you're not going to have any sewing along the edges unless it's put on there for the purpose of preventing twisting and stretching, or to minimize twisting and stretching on it because single thickness leather is going to stretch, twist, and generally speaking be more exposed, to weather, rain, salt, and so on when it doesn't have finishes on it. So they're not going to last as long. This rig, and I have what you just heard is something falling behind my cover because I covered up my workshop bench with all the tools and everything to give you a clean background. This rig will represent, or does represent, a rig that you could use for Single Action Shooting Society, SAS, competition. It's tougher and has wax all over it and thicker, okay, than a single layered rig, meaning that it would be 8 to 10 ounces, let's say, or even 11 or 12 if you could find leather soft enough in that thickness to make gun belts and holsters out of. But this one here is an average weight of two thinner pieces of leather glued together on the belt, and then the suede lining, which makes the third layer. Bullet loops are laced in, not sewn on. There's a good shot with the light. Okay, and here are the gentleman's initials, LK, American flag, my maker stamp, and there's the sewing for the slide ledge that's riding, or the belt is riding upon. Okay, so that covers some of the details. Now, the conchos that are on Michael Bean's rig, and even the ones that are on, what's his name again? Mr. Gormley, Gormley. He reproduced conchos that he felt matched the ones on the Michael Bean rig. But these are conchos that are still available from Tandy. I have them noted. They're in their catalogs. The belt buckle here has a look of engraving on it, and these are what are called Diablo conchos. And instead of riveting in the buckle, I use Chicago screws. It's a different and more updated type of a Ranger overlap closure that I use on all of my rigs. So this is pretty tough, okay? And what else do I want to point out? I am now using Johnson's paste wax or an amount of older bowling alley wax, which is paste wax, both of which on the can say that they're good for leather. And I find that it works just as well, and in some cases better, than shoe polish, my Kiwi Neutral Wax shoe polish, because it's a little, I don't know, softer. It goes on easier. So the formulas for the shoe polish and the paste wax are a little different, but they still buff up to a mellow gloss. When you get a rig from me, you may see something that didn't quite get buffed out, and it turned a little cream colored or white inside sewing line, or in a stamp like I'm seeing one right now, which you can't see. So if you take a nail brush dedicated to your gun belts when you get them from me, and you see that, just a small nail brush or a cleaning brush, with some strong nylon bristles, you can get into the deeper parts of a stamp or the thread line, and you can buff it out if the look of it bothers you. This rig took quite a while to make with everything else I have to do. And another thing I wanted to show you, it's actually right behind this cover. So I don't know if I can get it out or not. Let's see. Yeah, here it is. Okay. This is what I burnish edges with. This is, let me clean up the background for a moment to show it to you. Here we go with my hand. This is a burnisher on a Dremel. Okay. So this is high speed, creates a lot of heat, and I put the wax on the edges of things, and it really burns it in. I'll even turn it on. There it goes. See? And it burns in the wax on the edges and really waterproofs as best as I've been able to do it so far. I used to burnish by hand, but now when you get a rig from me and you run your fingers on it, you're going to find that it's almost like glass, because it's sealing up the edges. So I don't put any acrylic paint on edges anymore. It just chips off. The burnisher and the wax in combination make for a very strong waterproofing method for sealing up the open edges of cut leather. Here's another thing. Both holsters have a hole here, so if anything spills in there, water, dust will fall out. You've got a breathing hole, so things won't overly accumulate at the end of the holsters. And since I've got good light here, you can see the opening of the holster. There's no rolled throats on these. These are what generally were called California pattern holsters. And there is the gun in there with the trigger guard resting on here as it comes up. I'm hoping that you're getting this detail on your computer monitor better than I'm getting it on my older Sanyo TV, which in my shop, which I really ought to replace so I can see things better when I'm making videos. I'm trying to make sure that I'm not leaving anything out that I wanted to explain to you. Oh, here we go. Here's another one. I will make you a single thickness rig if you want one just for the look of it and you're not a sash shooter, for less than what I would charge you to make one like this. So you've got two options here, okay? And I'm thinking about making and offering single layer rigs just for knocking around, because it's a cost factor. There's more leather, more time to make holsters, gun belts, even with bullet loops, for double layered rigs, lined rigs, as opposed to single layer holsters and belts. So that's something to consider, and eventually I will make some and make videos, and then you'll get to see them. But right now, this is a first class, in my opinion, first class A number 1 Johnny Ringo replica, which you could use to shoot sass with on a regular basis and have it last a long time. I'm turning it over. Oh, and well, here's a major thing I completely forgot to mention out. This is a left-handed rig for strong hand left hand over here, and he wanted a cross draw. So this is your left-handed cross draw, matching, same size, same pattern holster. And you may or may, here you almost see it. There's some wax right in there that I'm noticing that built up in that stamp right there, which I'm going to buff out before I send it to him, because this is going in the mail today. Alright. Conchos, I had to measure out thickness for the screw length available to me for the conchos, so I could get the concho. There's the back screw for it. That's screw back concho, going right through the belt billet. Alright, so I hope you got a good look at it while I was turning it around. Sorry when it was off the camera when I was turning things. And give you some different angles, different views. Okay. There's your Mexican double loop with 9/16 inch spots on it. I had to create spacers, and I used a die press set to put these spots on and try to not mess it up and make a mistake as I was going along. A lot more procedures to make this rig. So let's move the holster around one more time, or the gun belt set one more time around. There is the cross jaw holster, which you could have individually if you want. I certainly can make this holster for you without the conchos and without the spots. Okay, and then I'll bring it around to the straight down one to take a 7.5 inch, and these will obviously soften up as time goes by, but right now they're brand new and tough. So there you are. Alright. So I think I have covered it, and I haven't left anything out. Longer video than I usually make, trying to keep it down. Background starting to fall down. I'm knocking over my tools back here. You can hear them all clanking around. So that's it. You got any questions? Give me a call. All the information on how to order anything that I make, any replicas. So that's another point. I like making replicas because it takes me away from doing the standard stuff all the time. Not that I don't like making them from a business point of view, but when you call me up and say you want a Matt Dillon or you want something like this, or in fact, here's an interesting thing that happened yesterday. While I was finishing this rig up, Winchester 73 was playing on TV. James Stewart and so on and so forth. Even Tony Curtis was in it at the end. He's the one that found the rifle after they killed all the Indians. And I noticed something very interesting way back when they made that movie. James Stewart had a completely full gun belt with 45s on it. The buckle was on his back, and his Mexican single loop holster was hanging over the bullets. And that's the way it was back in the Old West. It was utility, and it looked great, and I'm going to make that rig and call it James Stewart rig from Winchester 73. Haven't made it yet. I've made some things close to it, but it was also, again, single layer stuff. And if you also remember the Will Geer, who played Marshall Earp in the movie, he was collecting up all of the guns and gun belts. And they had them over in the general store, and you got to see a lot of Hollywood prop guns and gun belts hanging up in that store as part of the movie. So take a look at Winchester 73. It's one of the best Western movies that James Stewart ever made. Alright, so that's it from Raleigh, North Carolina. Thanks for watching. Again, look at the end titles, and hopefully you'll give me a call and we'll talk about whatever you'd like to have. Bye-bye now from Raleigh, North Carolina. Okay.